Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'm going to share with you my background, my story, so you can understand, I guess, my journey so far. And this is the story that I begin all of my workshops with, because I think it's really great for the children to see. I show up posters of pictures to see my story of how I grew up on a farm and then became a geologist, and my journey from there to becoming a children's author. And when I share it with the children, I share it to inspire them to also see that life can take you on many different ways, and that when we listen to our intuition, we follow our heart, we really are unlimited in what we can do and the way we can explore our world, connect with nature, and really stay shining bright and to share our gifts and talents with the world. So here we are. I am going to share it with you now. So I grew up on a farm in Dumbleyung, and I loved being on a farm. We were only there for the first 7 years of my life, but I have wonderful memories of that time. Being out in nature, building cubbies in the bush, playing in the background, playing in the backyard. I have one sister and two brothers, and we'd get to go for rides on the back of my dad's motorbike and spend a lot of time outside. I have beautiful memories with my mum and my brother one day of running and chasing a rainbow across a field. So many stories like that I love sharing with the children in my workshops. And I really loved rocks and crystals. So as I grew up, we moved to Australind, and I was very fortunate to have a gem and crystal shop, a museum, which also had a beautiful shop in it on our very street. So I like to share the stories about how I would earn my pocket money, jump on my bike, ride down to the gem museum and buy some crystals. So I had a beautiful rock collection in my room from a very young age. I loved tiger's eye and rose quartz and all the beautiful gemstones. And as I grew up and I went into from childhood, from primary school into high school, I felt a strong pull to become a lawyer to begin with. I don't share that in my workshops because it's a little bit boring. But at the time, you had to have very high grades, and I wasn't just quite getting there. But I also had a really big interest and passion for rocks and for volcanoes. And I had a wonderful geography teacher in grade 12 who really showed me that geology is a career and is a path you can follow. So when it was time to apply for, application to university, I applied for geology and went to UWA in Western Australia, in Perth, and studied geology, and had the most amazing time doing field trips, vacation work, and then started my career working in Western Australia as an exploration geologist, which is more than 20 years ago now. And I had many adventures being out in the bush. This is where I met my husband, Sean. He's also a geologist. And then I also went and lived and worked in Canada, and I had the most amazing time there. And I share a lot of these stories with the children at my workshops about what it was like exploring for gold in the forest. And we were seeing bears all the time. We had a little dogs who protected us, bear dogs, Kelly and Elsie, who worked with us. And I had many adventures. We encountered wolves. I once saw, I think it was a panther. So I love sharing these stories with the children. I guess to me it demonstrates a determination, a freedom of spirit. I was definitely following my heart in my career choice. And I guess backing myself and believing in myself, I probably really started to connect with my intuition. When I was traveling, I left Australia by myself to do this. I then made a lot of friends in my travels, but I was definitely very connected to my intuition, and I do believe I encountered some, dangerous situations with wolves and things like that you had to really listen to your internal guidance, which is probably the beginnings of me connecting with my soul. And then I came back to Australia. I was working in more of a corporate setting. So I was working in the city. It was very exciting. I was negotiating a lot of contracts for a big mining company. And as part of that, I was working with lawyers a lot of the time. And I then went back to university just after getting married to Sean, and started my law degree. And I finished that. It took me 7 years, but I finished my law degree, continued working in the mining industry, negotiating contracts for companies. And at this time I became a mum, which to me, I shared this with the children as my next adventure, from becoming a geologist and working, in the mining industry, to then becoming a mum. And that is where I just felt myself become alive again. I feel that playing with my children, just playing imaginary games, painting and drawing with them, doing lots of arts and crafts, playing outside, going on family holidays together into nature really made me shine. So much so that when COVID happened, and like many of you would remember, we were all working at home. So both Sean and I were both at home with our children, and something had to change. And I listened to my heart, my soul, and talked over with Sean, and we made the decision for me to resign from my work. And around this time, we were at home in lockdown with our children, Emily and Josh, who are in the 2 and 4 then. And Emily and Joshy asked me to make them a game, a treasure hunt game. And this is what I love showing with the children in my workshops. So I created a game for them. It's a treasure hunt game, and it has lots of little clues. You hide the clues around your home. The children solve the clues and they find the treasure, which are the gemstones and jewels. And as I was making this game for Emily and Josh, I had a burst of inspiration, and it felt like a big bubble had come and landed on my head, and there was a whole story inside. And I was still working as a geologist at this time. It was just before I resigned again. And I resigned twice. I had to quit twice. It was very hard to leave. And when I got this download, it was as though I felt like it was my book, Find Your Treasure. And it felt as though I'd read this story before and I knew it by heart and I was remembering it. So I started writing, and I wrote for about 3 months. And then I had a 5,000 word manuscript, which was actually, it looked more like a poem. It was rhyming and it was a beautifully written verse, and I had no idea what to do with it. And thankfully I started reaching out, Googling editors, and I came across an amazing woman called Kelly Nissen, who lives in Canberra, and she has a business, Just Right Words. And I connected with Kelly, hit it off instantly, and we began to work and together and shape Find Your Treasure into the story that it is now, which is a chapter book, a beautiful adventure story about 2 children who go around the world on the back of a dragonfly and discover their inner treasures. So they learn a lot about their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, and they discover their soul. And this was an incredible joy to write, and it really helped me vocalize, I guess, my view of the world and my view, especially of parenthood, that we have these these amazing children, little babies, who when we first met them, we can see how incredible they really are. It's a miracle. Every child is a miracle. And we see their light, they're shining so bright. They are full of joy, and they are very wise in their own way. And our children, Emily and Josh, when they were little and they started talking, they'd often say things to me which were quite profound, and I would be surprised. And I've written many of these down in my little notebook, because I would think, how do you know such wise things? You're a little child. And then I really, as I started in my spiritual journey of waking up or flowering, however you'd like to see it, shining, that I remembered and realised how truly incredible our children are, and how connected they are at a very young age to their source, to their wisdom, to their souls. And then as our children started progressing through into school, first, I guess, like you would all know, in daycare and childcare and kindergarten, there's so much play, which is fantastic. This is how children learn. This is how they communicate with us. Through play, and how there's lots of arts and crafts and games, and that helps them keep shining. And then I noticed, as my children started progressing into school, that it wasn't really being articulated in a way that here you are, you're a beautiful soul, you're here, and I'm saying the word soul regardless. This is not a religious perspective at all. It is truly our human soul, or our essence, our soul, coming to earth to be human and to have this amazing life. And it wasn't really, I guess, acknowledged to them. They started to learn their body parts, their face, their eyes, their nose, their mouth, and their hands. They started to learn their emotions, thankfully, but it kind of stopped there. And when I talk about this with lots of parents and teachers, especially at my workshops, we can see that it's sort of limited in the sense of, here we are acknowledging our beautiful children. They're learning at school about their body parts. They're learning about their families, how they fit into the world in that sense. And they're learning that they have lots of feelings, but that's where it kind of ends. And I felt like that was very limited. And so after writing Find Your Treasure, I felt the real burst of inspiration to write My Soul Treasure. And this is a story that's resonated with so many of you, and I'm so grateful for, that really tells children from the very young age. You could read this from 2, you could read this to a 1-year-old, you could read this from 2, 3 and up, that they have a soul, and that's a very big part of them, and it's where all their soul treasure is. And the idea, the philosophy, I guess, at the heart of my books and my teachings is that children can visualize they have a treasure chest of inner strengths within their soul, and they're all sitting there shining bright, waiting for the children to discover. So they have their coziness gems, their creativity gems, their imagination gems, their wisdom gems. And this can really help children to feel a sense of self-worth, inner strength. It can nurture their well-being. It can help them connect to themselves in a deeper way, and enhances their self-awareness of who they really are. And I've noticed and I've loved how this has really resonated with a lot of parents when they're reading it to their children. Their children's really fills up with a sense of self-love and self-worth that's acknowledging that they really are, you know, a beautiful, amazing soul here on earth, starting their life and with incredible gifts and talents that they have to share with us all. And another big part of the background of my story so far is meeting Alison Mutton, who has done all the amazing illustrations for my books. It was really wonderful to meet Alison. I remember from the first moment we met, she'd already drawn a sketch of Melody, actually, as she appeared in Melody the Mermaid, as she appeared in Find Your Treasure, and I just knew that Alison was going to be able to bring my beautiful creations to life. Our process has been amazing, so I would have the idea of maybe a scene of what a spread would look like, and then I'll do some little sketches for Alison, and then she creates the most amazing illustrations. As you would know if you've seen some of my books, these beautiful scenes full of bright colours that the children love. And another wonderful person that I've met and worked with is Sue Carson. She's an amazing graphic designer, and it was wonderful meeting Sue. She has created all the beautiful designs that appear on my games and on the game cards, on the affirmation cards, and it's been really wonderful working with both Alison and Sue and Kelly, and they have been, you know, the key people that I've worked with to date that have helped me bring my creations to life. So I hope you have enjoyed listening to my background. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in my next videos. Okay, bye.